Hello all. Alright, this morning's video isn't going to be about the environment. It's going to be about politics here in the U.S. and how serious things have gotten. Really bad. Things just keep getting from worse to bad, back to worse, and even worse in politics here in the U.S. Here in the U.S., Republican Senator Rick Scott said Friday he is seriously considering a bid to succeed Republican Senator Mitch McConnell as leader of the Senate GOP. This couldn't be any worse. You couldn't pick a more corrupt politician to be in charge of the GOP, which is the most corrupt party this country has ever seen. It's about to get worse. Let's go over Rick Scott's record. It is abysmal. What is his plan? To sunset all federal programs for the people every 5 years. So all the programs that we fought for 20, 30, 40 years, rights and all kinds of programs that you can't even think of because they're just part of your everyday rights, will be sunsetted. And every 5 years, the Senate and the House will have to fight it out and see if we can get them back into the agenda of the U.S. people. What are some of the programs that he plans on sunsetting every 5 years? That includes Social Security, Medicare, and the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Just think about how long it took to get Social Security, Medicare, and the Equal Rights Act of 1964, which allowed blacks to use white bathrooms, or blacks to sit in front of the bus, or blacks to be able to eat in any restaurant they want. He wants to sunset this every 5 years and to dig it all back up again. And you know how that'll work. If the Republicans are in charge, that means all these programs completely go away, gone. And even if the Democrats are in charge, you know that every 5 years, if the Democrats and the Republicans are about 50-50, you know that a few Democrats will go over to the Republican side and they'll wipe out all these programs. You know why they want to wipe out these programs? Of course you do. Tax cuts for the wealthy. That's what it's all about. Taking Social Security and Medicare and putting it into the coffers of the wealthiest U.S.'s, the 1%ers, the billionaires. Experts around the world say there should never even be a single billionaire around the world. That this money could be used to fix all the problems in everybody's country. But the more and more the rich take charge, the less and less the people are the recipients of fairness and help when people are down. But that's not all Rick Scott is about. Scott says, we could make big changes if you put me in. Also, Scott, who is the richest U.S. senator in the U.S., also proposed hiking taxes on the lowest income bracket in the U.S. Now, a lot of the low-income people can't even afford a place to live and are now living in buses and cars and in homeless encampments all over the U.S. Any city you go to, they all have homeless encampments now. These are the low-income people that Rick Scott wants to tax. The richest man on the planet wants to tax so that he can get out of having any taxes put on him. The GOP is disgusted. It gets worse. When Scott was a Florida governor in 2011 to 2019, he was the governor of Florida, as we know. He was the CEO of a hospital company that was hit with a total of $1.7 billion fines. You know why they were hit with all these fines? For defrauding Medicare. That's right, they defrauded Medicare. Now you know why Rick Scott is the richest senator in the U.S. The U.S. Justice Department describes this fraud as the largest case in the U.S. history. the largest fraud case in U.S. history. Trump would go very well with Rick Scott, two of the biggest felons on the planet. Trump has 91 felony charges, is a convicted rapist, and a New York fraudster with fines of $1.5 billion and growing. Of course the two would go together just fine. And you noticed how the thieves and the muggers and the cheats of the U.S. all are backing both these people. It's not the good people that back people like this. It's the bad people that back people like this. The fraudsters, the thieves, the pickpockets, they all love Trump. They all love Rick Scott. And of course, Trump's plan is to turn the U.S. into a fascist nation with huge encampments of people that aren't white and that aren't backing him will be put in these camps. And then he'll say, sooner or later, he'll say, the smokestacks are necessary to clean out the vermin here in the U.S. We must have the smokestacks. And these large body counts of dead people that are in the millions. We've seen this all before, haven't we? 1940s? Think about it, people. Are we about to take people's lives away from them because we fall in love and become brainwashed into thinking that a fraudster is somebody we need to put as the presidency of the U.S.? But that's not all. See, Trump, during his presidency, put in 3 Supreme Court justices who just this morning said that the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution doesn't count anymore, and that Trump can be on all the ballots of the state, and that the states no longer have the right to take people off the ballots they don't want to have on the ballots. That's what the Supreme Court does. They just easily sweep away the 14th Amendment, but yet they can't seem to sweep away the Second Amendment. Why is that? Or modify the Second Amendment. Why is that? They can sweep away the 14th Amendment, which keeps insurrectionists from taking office, but they can't take away or modify the Second Amendment, which allows people to own AR-15s and other assault rifles to do mass shootings throughout the U.S., which are constant and all the time. But yet the Supreme Court sees no reason to mess with the Second Amendment. Now I know a lot of people are Trumpsters, and they really believe in this person and are completely brainwashed and are into the cult of Trump and Rick Scott and others that are in the GOP. This is the most corrupt party we have ever seen. This is the most corrupt time the U.S. has ever seen. And it's up to us, the U.S.'s, the people of the people. We must make changes in 2024 and dump the GOP completely. Now, I'm not saying that the alternatives is much better. It isn't. But it's a slightly better chance of not going into fascism with them in charge than with the GOP in charge. People like Rick Scott, who's a fraudster and gets away with it because he's in the government. Of course, people that are in the government seem to always get away with whatever they're charged with. It just goes away after they get in charge, and somehow all the charges just disappear. Isn't that interesting? Are we, the people of the U.S., about ready to put in someone like Rick Scott and Trump? And why would we do that to ourselves?